So, welcome to tonight, The Laws of Gold. I am so excited about this. As I said, it is one of the most exciting, powerful topics that I love to speak to. So, can't wait to dive into this. I have spent the last, really 6 years studying ancient wisdom in a very, very deep way. I've spent probably about 600,000 now in ancient wisdom, sort of in the mysteries of this alone. So I am very, very excited to talk to you about this. And I'm going to share a little bit about how I went from a really struggling, challenging place in my life for most of my life, for 33 years of it, up until the point when I started to study the depth of the ancient wisdom I'm going to share with you, and how the last sort of 5, nearly 6 years of my life since that point has been a completely different story, how magnetic it has been, how beautiful it has been, and the power of what I'm going to share with you. And I'm very, very really pumped to go through this because this has been something that has completely changed the trajectory of my life. And I want to gift you that as well because I don't want to see any human struggling like I was. And I don't want to see anyone trying so hard to spend all their money, all their time to uncover these pieces and just be met with struggle and challenge. I don't want anyone to have that anymore. And I want to, set people free in that way and really help them with the power of ancient wisdom. It is possible. So I'm really, really pumped for it. I'm hearing some of you and what you're sharing and how it felt like home and all these things. That song is actually, yeah, called A Calling Home. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to call you home. We're going to call you home to the ancient wisdom that is within the cells of your body. I don't know if you know, but you actually have gold dust in the cells of your being, and you have stardust as well. And you are a creation of this universe, and you are one in that divinity and that power. You may not be living that way right now. You may not feel that power, but when you know how to tap into the universe and you know how to tap into the ancient wisdom I'm going to share with you, it unlocks, everything that is within your cells to create all of your abundance and more, right? So I'm really loving hearing your shares of how you're feeling and how that landed for you and how relaxed and calm and peaceful, empowered, like, yeah, even brought to tears. Like, yeah, so, so beautiful. So thank you for that. And what I want you to do with tonight is I really want you to receive all of this with every cell of your being. Don't just listen to what I'm saying, but let your whole body be open because, this is a very energetic thing that I'm going to share with you. And I've gone to a lot of different lands in the world, and I've studied a lot of different lineages, and I've studied a lot of different philosophies, and I want to bring all of that to you today. It's not just coming from one ancient, wisdom piece. It's from many, and I want you to be open and fully receive. So if you are off camera and things, that's fine. I would love it if you could be on camera, but if you're, being distracted, or just bring your full presence and as much of you as you can here. It just respects the energy of the space and the energy of what we're going to hear as well. Even if you're in your nightie or something, you can come on. We welcome all forms here. Okay, beautiful. So I want to share a little bit about my story before I dive into the old ways, the new ways, three key pieces of insight that I want to shift within you today. And I just want to share you a little bit about my story. Some of you know me very well. Some faces I see, and I've seen you for many years, and it's so exciting to do this journey with you over the time. And others of you don't know me at all. You just somehow stumbled across me, or someone's told you about it, or whatever. So I just want to give you a bit of an intro to what I'm going to share today and why this is so vital and why it's made all the difference to my life and what it can do for you as an example as well. So I basically, as I said, like had 33 years of struggle. And I was very much coming from a hustle, action, masculine way of I wanted to create what I wanted to create. And I was going to study, I was going to do, I was going to act, I was going to spend, I was going to whatever it took to create what I wanted, right? So I was trying to study psychology, I was going into PT and health and nutrition. I was like, going into the depths of counseling and like healing worlds and modalities and like I was someone who went to all nths of degrees to shift my reality. But what happened, even though I studied all this stuff and I spent 15 years at uni going deep into psychology and deep into healing and deep into every modality I could under the sun, I was earning a good, amount in a good job, all the things. But I kept being met with these same realities and I kept being met with struggle and survival. And so at the beginning of my business, at the beginning of the time where I was like, okay, I think I figured it out. I think I figured out the success principles. It's just been, do the whole rah rah, go really hardcore, study and work hard and blah blah. Then that's it. It's all this masculine jar jar, right? Um, but then what happened at the pinnacle of that time when I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to go teach the world how to succeed from this hustle, push, strategy, masculine, whatever. I thought I'm having, about to have my son and, I've got my 10-year relationship and like I'm ticking all my goals. Like, yeah, yeah, rah, rah. Like I'm excited and I'm going to tell the world I'm a motivational speaker. I'm going to show them everything. Right at that moment when I thought I'd figured it all out, I found out that my husband and I were going through a really difficult time and we couldn't be together anymore. And I went through this big breakup of someone I loved for 10 years, my best friend. And then I had to face being a single mom at 6 months pregnant before I was even a mom. And then I had to figure out how on earth am I going to have a business when I felt suicidal, depressed, like all these things. My whole life came smashing down in smithereens. And that was the pinnacle of, trying really hard to succeed, trying to figure it out, trying to get there. All it gave me was like sand that went through my hands. I don't know about, has anyone ever felt like they have tried everything, they've studied everything, they've spent everything, but all it actually ends up being is money or, health or relationships, or it's just like sand through the hands. It just drips out of your hands. Has anyone felt that way before? Yeah? Because that's how it felt for me. And it was exhausting and depleting. And it was so horrible to have that experience when I tried everything, and I did everything they said. I was a good girl. I was a good teacher, student. I did everything and it went to that. And so then, that first year, like when I was setting up my business, I had no real idea what I was doing. But I did have one thing, and I had this belief that God, the universe, that I had a very strong spiritual sort of connection at that point, was going to give me the amount of money that I used to have in my old job. I just had this belief that every month, like I was going to get the same amount as a paycheck that I received. And every month of that year, even though I had no clue what was happening in my business, and it didn't always come through my business, it could come through other means, I made the exact amount to the dollar, to the cent. When I calculated all the money I got from all these places, every month of that year, I made the exact amount I used to get in my paycheck. Isn't that insane? Do you know the likelihood of that? It was some random figure. And sometimes it looked like it wasn't going to happen that month. It didn't come through my job, but bang, it did, some way, somehow. Now, then I moved to the beach. Look, you'll see from this story, I'm a slow learner. I didn't get the lesson. Like, I didn't see the signs. I didn't, understand. So I moved to the beach and I somehow think the universe, God, whatever, is back at my old house where my family were that way. And it's not here. I just, for some reason, stopped believing I was going to get this paycheck amount, right? And guess what happened that month? Zero. Not just one, not $2, five, couple 100,000, whatever. No, $0 came through that month. The second I believed that had gone was the second nothing happened. This is insane, right? How does this happen? And not just did that happen, I in that time when all this business started happening, money started happening like randomly, I didn't even know what I was doing. I like lost all this weight, had the best health and vitality I ever had because I was just being in love and compassion to myself. I wasn't doing anything else. I call it the compassion diet. I was just being in love. And then I lost like all this shift happened in my health. And then, this coach trying to tell me to like teach people how to do it. It's like, I don't know how to teach it. Like, I just started loving myself. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, and then all this love started coming flooding in. But the second I went to the beach and I started believing the money shit's gone, whatever, I started believing the magic mojo's gone, all of that went to shit. And my ex and I had this big other trigger, another person I was seeing, like, it all went to shit. My health started going bad. The garage broke, the heater broke, like, everything started to break. Have you had that experience before? Right? In here is going to shit, everything's going to shit. I then put my business on hold and I was like, I can't manage all of this. So I just went and did some insecurity work. I did some emotional work. I'm like, I can't cope. I can't. So I just did some inner stuff and I just did nothing in my business. I stopped it, right? While I'm doing this inner work for 2 months, all of a sudden people start getting referred to me. Money starts coming to me. Clients, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not doing anything in my business. What is going on, right? I couldn't figure it out. But I still then don't understand. There's something here. There's something that when I'm energetically or something shifting in here, everything else is changing. But then when I'm trying to do all this stuff and I'm not working in here, everything else goes to shit. I couldn't see the connection, right? Anyway, for 3 years go by and I'm doing this dance. That all of these things keep happening and I'm still not figuring it out. I think the universe is looking at me like, Miranda, please, like look at the lesson. Like, what are you doing? And then I for some reason I'm in this program, I'm in this another strategy program because I keep thinking strategy is going to be the answer, even though I had all these experiences telling me otherwise. And I'm in this strategy program, and this girl in there, I've been 3, 4 years in business now, and I haven't made a 10K month. This girl, 2 months into her business, makes 100K, and I'm pissed. I am pissed off. It's like, how on earth does this girl, do all this? I'm sitting here working my ass off, doing all the thing. What? Anyway, I ended up getting over my being pissed, and I just said, "What did you do? Like, you're doing something, and what did you do? Like, I haven't figured out what did you do." She just told me about energy. She told me about the laws of the universe. She told me about, just read this, do that, whatever. So I was like, stuff this, stuff the action, stuff the strategy. I've tried all this for years. It's not happening. I'm going to meditate for this month, and I'm going to meditate on having a $10,000 month. And all I did was meditate. And then I went and felt abundant, whatever, through the day and went back and meditated. I did not do any action, didn't do any strategy, meditated. This is after 4 years in my business, trying my ass off to get a 10K month and never getting it. The last day of that month, the last phone call I have, it tips me over to $10,000 that month from meditating. When I've worked my ass off, doing every action, not making it. Please tell me you're just like, what on earth? Because I was on like, what on earth? And I still hadn't figured it out. Then I was like, I don't know how to do that again. So what did I do? I went and paid 5 grand a month to a flipping strategy coach. Because that has worked before. Like, do you see how, like, I am a slow learner? Has anyone else feel like a slow learner? Like, I was like, what? So I pay all this money to this strategy coach. My business goes to shit. Lo and behold, I make like no money for 4 months. It was the worst it had ever been. Why? Because they were telling me to go against the laws of the universe. They were telling me to go against myself. They were telling me to go against my intuition. They were telling me to ignore my energy. They were telling me not to sell energy stuff. No one's going to buy it. This is my life. This is what I live by. Like, this is what I love. They're just saying, stop it. So this like whole thing that was working just blocked right up. And I got into $20,000 of debt because I was paying this person 5,000 a month plus my bills and things, and I was making zero, right? I actually was about to lose my house, lose the place I was in. I felt so much shame and guilt for my son. I couldn't handle what was happening. And then, lo and behold, tap, 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 the universe comes back to me and is like, here is the laws of the universe. Here's energy. Here's the superconscious. Like, Miranda, flip and listen. Like, because I'm praying, like, give me the lifelines. Like, I'm trying to give it to you, but you're not listening. So that month, I start going, doing deeper intuition work, going into the energetic work, doing the laws of the universe study and practices. And I have a $20,000 month. And then I never went back ever again from that point for the last nearly 6 years, when my whole life I struggled with health, I struggled with wealth, I struggled with business, I struggled with jobs, I struggled with relationships. Everything started to build and build up from there. And I'll tell you more, but I had, then 100K launch just a few months after that, a 200K launch a few months after that. I consistently have 100K months. I've had retreats around the world, like travel, to the wherever I want to go when I want to go with my son as well. We have an incredible, abundant life. More love comes to my life than ever. My health feels the best it's ever. All from just learning how to work with the universe, how to work with the laws of nature that are in there instead of against it, like I was doing. Please put in the chat, or you can unmute if you want. What are you hearing from me? What's landing? I hope you're getting the lesson sooner than I am, because as you see, it took me a little while. Put it in the chat, or you can unmute if you want.
I'll share. It's easier for me
Yeah, go for it, Dal.
to talk.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, but I can totally relate to so many of those points, like I myself, when I separated from my husband and I was in that lack and scarcity, what am I going to do now?
Mm.
Everything was going wrong. Somebody crashed into the car and then the hot water system. And then there was, something going wrong in the apartment so that like the whole building. So then the levies go up,
Yeah.
every quarter they were like $3,000 a quarter. And I'm going, what?
What? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I can totally relate. And then yeah, you try and fix it and go off and do all these courses, and then there's more money going
Yeah,
going out
yeah,
doing all the
yeah.
courses.
Because again, like, why are we doing it or what's the thing behind it, right? I went
Yeah.
and did all this strategy stuff because it was out there and outside of me. And, it's all about why are we doing it,
Yeah, exactly. Where we're coming from.
where we're
Yeah.
coming from. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks, hun. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like when we know how to use, like that's all unconscious creating. And even when I was creating what I wanted, I didn't understand why or how. Like I couldn't replicate it. But there was a system, there was a structure, there was a repeatable way to live and be, But it wasn't about, and I say this to people all the time, like if you didn't know how to the law of gravity and how to work with gravity, you'd just jump off like buildings and stuff and like you'd see the consequence pretty quick, right? Like you got to learn about the laws of the physical laws, and we know those very well, but a lot of us don't know the spiritual laws to the degree that we need to and know how to embody and apply them. And that is why we're walking around emotionally jumping off cliffs and things and getting hurt and then like not getting understanding why, right? The universe keeps wanting to show us and we need to listen. Yes, in alignment, 1,000%. Energetic alignment's everything. Trust and intuition and what's happening in here and the emotions is definitely, such a key part to all of this. Oh, where did my chat go? It just went away. Here we go. Yeah, I'm a slow learner. Glad there's a few of us in the room because I definitely was. Laws of the nature and the universe. Yes, 1,000%. Beautiful. Okay, so let's keep going. So I want you to uncover like what I said. Um, there's an old way and a new way of living and being. And when we're living our old way, we're in misalignment to the universe, we're in misalignment to nature. We're, not living in the way the universe works. And then when we are in the new way, we are in alignment. And that's why things flow. There's stuck, oscillation, drama, stagnation in the old, and there is flow and ease and magnetism and abundance in the new, right? We're in the slipstream. So the old way, number one, is forcing and controlling, hustling, chasing, convincing in sales, in life, trying to make things happen through pressure, perfection. If I don't push, it won't move. Like that is an old way that you need to let go of. It is not serving you. It is not getting you what you want and is keeping you stuck repeating the same drama and pattern and past on repeat, right? The second one is strategy over soul, relying on logic, relying on plans, relying on mental effort, ignoring energy, ignoring rhythm, ignoring intuition, self-sacrifice, hustle, effort, overexertion. I've got to figure it out. I've got to make it work. Strategy over soul. The how, how am I going to do it? When you know how to work with the laws, the how just falls into place, right? The soul needs to be first. And I'll talk to you about the new ways in a second. The last one I'm going to share with you is about mind-led living, and that is overthinking, analyzing, strategizing, like fear, scarcity, chasing even quick wins or validation or dopamine, going on to the next shiny object all the time, seeing life in like separation, segmentation, like it's mind-led and it's driven by survival. And if you're being driven by the mind and survival, you're going to have a life that is showing you survival, separation, lack, scarcity everywhere. They are the old ways. They are the ways of force. They are the ways of overdrive, overexertion, and it's causing you to be depleted, exhausted, anxious, depressed, like survival, like not have any money, like constantly stressing, struggling. That's the old way. You do not need it anymore. We want the magnetic way, not the outdated survival paradigm you've been living in, right? The new way is co-creation and flow, number one. You become the field of what you desire, and opportunities and people and clients are magnetized to you by coherence, by being a match. Life's intelligence, the universe, God, whatever you see that as, is like moving with you and backing you every step of the way. And so there is, this timing, this rhythm, this resonance, this synchronicity, these opportunities, this stuff just opens up. When I align with what wants to move through me, things unfold with ease. There's alignment, and things that are meant for you cannot miss you, right? I just want to tell you guys about Jody. She's not here like on a camera, but she is here. Just for a second, Jodie is a client I've had for many years, and we actually, she came to Peru with me as well the other last year, and we flew her in business class with me, and it's just so awesome to see where Jodie was and where she is now and what she's creating. But Jodie, was looking at my work years ago at one of my alchemy courses, and she wasn't sure about joining, and she was in a bit of resistance, all these different things. And anyway, like she wasn't super sure, and a few weeks go by. I didn't even know like where she lived, anything like that. Anyway, I in that time give her an introduction to a client of mine, and I just said, chat to her, like see what it's like to work with me, whatever. I went out with that client a couple of weeks later, like 3 weeks later, right? I went out and had a drink with that client in Melbourne. I just went to see her. I was upstairs at this place waiting for her. She came in, she couldn't find me. She said, Miranda, where are you? I came downstairs to go see her at the front door, right? That exact second I went to meet her, Jodie walked past in that moment. And I didn't even know she lived in Melbourne. And she walked past the person who I introduced her to on the phone call and me. I was like, Miranda. How fucking weird is that? How random is that? That happens to me all the time. Bron is another client here. She, at the end of that Peru trip that I just talked about, where I was away with Jodie on the first class, I was in Peru. She'd found me on Facebook and followed me for a little while, saw that I was in and out and doing an Oracle stuff and whatever. Sometimes I was online, sometimes I wasn't. Came up to me at the airport. She's at the airport the second I arrived home, from Peru. And she's like, Marina, and then she becomes a client of mine and comes to Fiji with me. It happens to me all the time. I'm not sitting there like, but these people just fall and I come to them in dreams apparently, and like they're just drawn. And it's like the superconscious universe is doing all that. I'm not forcing it. There's a flow. And I actually can work then 10, 20 hours a week because the universe is doing all this stuff I can just sort of sit and go to the spa with, right? That's what happens, when we're in that. So, and then there's radiance and receiving. That is a much more radiant way. It's not the strategy way, not the hustle, right? There's radiance and receiving. You're leading from overflow, devotion, energetic coherence. My energy is the invitation, you know? And decisions and actions and creation are all in this like harmony. And it's like you're in this flow in the river of life, right? Lastly, I often see this like, yeah, hill to try and struggle up to get to what you want, and then you might crash down and you've got to find it on the other side, and it's like this goose chase. And that's the old way. The new way is just you're floating down the river of life, and it just bumps into you as you keep letting life guide you in that surrendered way, right? And that's heart-led living. That's the last piece. Heart-led living. You're letting your intuition, your embodiment, your frequency lead decisions. You're working in the quantum. You're not just working in, the human. And so it's not just the human doing things. There's all of this energetics, like quantum physics backing you. And you've got momentum and consistency and devotion and energy like supporting you. Because you're here to be supported. You're here to have that sort of life, right? So I just want to show you a bit of the old ways, new ways. I want you to like decide now. You're like gonna let go of your old ways. You're not gonna go for the force and control and strategy and mind. Like doesn't mean I'm not saying poo-poo strategy. Like no, I've got strategy in my work. It's part of it, but it's not leading it. Co-creation and flow, radiance, receiving, heart-led, magnetic work, abundance. That is leading it. In the universal laws, inspired action is a part of it, but it is not the only thing, and you're forcing that way, right? There's a difference. So, I want to talk to you about three core parts of how you can start to embody and implement this in your life. And the first one is understanding the importance of connecting to your ancient roots. All of these laws of the universe that I'm going to start to talk to you about, and the way that I started to unpack them and decipher them and decode them and know how to work in the laws, it meant that I had to get back to the ancient wisdom and the ancient roots that are timeless, that are sacred, that have deep power and technology and wisdom that is beyond your wildest dreams. When I went to Egypt a few years ago, I've been to many sacred, like ancient places, and I've studied a lot of different, like the Hermetic universal laws through the Egyptian sort of lineage and Vedic, and just been to India 10 days meditating. Like I deep dived into many lineages. But when I was in Egypt, I don't know if you know, and also this is similar in Peru in the way that they've done Machu Picchu, they cut stones that were like between, 2 to 80 tons of weight, and there was no razor. But it was like such precise cuts that no earthquake or nothing has ever been able to move these foundations. And they're not glued together, they just sit on top of each other. Like it's insane how they had this technology to be able to do that. I don't know if you've been in Melbourne. We've got this like Melbourne Star that's meant to be this thing that goes around like the London Eye or whatever, and you observe. Melbourne can't even do that. They spent a few $1 billion on it. It doesn't work. They can't do it. Egypt, thousands and thousands of years ago, are doing this work, right? It mirrors the Orion's belt, the Great Pyramid, to the, all of that positioning is exactly mirrored to the nth degree. And they've got, 2.3 million blocks, and they were brought from 900 kilometers away. They cannot be brought on a boat and just carried down a boat with an 80-ton block 900 kilometers away. Like when you go, if you, I don't know who's been to Egypt, I'm not sure, but when you go there, like you look at this thing and it is not physically like human, just slave, but it's got to have some wisdom and technology that is beyond what we ever know and dream about. There is a wisdom in ancient like technology that they understood by connecting to the universe and connecting to universal laws that we have forgotten and we have lost touch with in the modern world. So I go to Egypt and I have 2 weeks there meditating in the temples, connecting to the land, like looking at the ancient wisdom and the universal laws there. While I'm there, I'm not doing anything in my business, but while I'm there, all these people start messaging me like, I want to work with you. Blah, blah, blah. I come home, do one training, my whole alchemy that usually takes me 2 months to fill is full in 1 week. And I have this 200K launch. 1 week of just temple time, after temple time, right? When you connect to your ancient roots, those are the things that can start to happen. I birthed alchemy in this being that's created like, million over 1 million for me as an offer. I birthed it just through knowing the ancient laws and just doing energetic release. I didn't do all this strategy stuff. And it just came to me and I downloaded it and I received it like it was given to me by the universe. And it told me like basically how to run it, how to get it out in the world, what to do about it. I actually took 3 strategy practical steps of like 2 masterclasses and one little video. They are the amount of strategies I took. And I had in 1 month of birthing this portal, 100K launch. And my first 100K I'd ever made in 1 month. That is the ease and flow that happens when you know how to work with like the ancient wisdom and the laws of the universe. I tried for years, like I was a very spiritual kid, but I had an issue when I broke up with my husband around some trauma that happened in the spiritual connection in the community I was a part of. I tried for 5 years to connect to God or connect to spirituality and like get that back. And it was really hard for me to do it. I tried to get it through coaching and all this different stuff. But when I went to the ancient texts or I went to like universal laws again, I went to Cambodia. Like I had this incredible God moment and divine healing that just changed everything for me. Even in India, the 10 days meditating, I had this incredible encounter, changed everything from just meeting the Vedic wisdom. When I tried years of trying to coach myself through it, I meet the ancient technology and wisdom and it just opens the way, right? Every retreat I've run around the world, it was resistance like for 6 to 7 weeks of me trying to do actions, trying to do strategies, whatever. It wasn't selling and it wasn't moving. And I do a universal law principle. I go deeper within and I change, which I'm going to start to show you. And then in either 3 days or 1 week from that point, the whole thing's full after 7 weeks of doing everything and it not shifting. When you connect to the ancient root and you know how to go into this ancient wisdom I'm going to share with you, everything unlocks and flows just sort of magically and miraculously, right? So the first thing I want you to understand is you need to connect to your ancient roots and you need to really prioritize ancient wisdom because they knew a lot that the modern time has forgotten and doesn't know. And this modern life of hustle, strategy, act, force, physical world, human life, trying to figure things out, like it's very weak in comparison of understanding the whole universe and the ancient world, of connected to nature and working with nature. I'll just say this last thing here before I talk about the next piece. You look at the way nature works. Like I was in Africa and I was studying the animals, very closely, and we're doing intuitive work with the animals. And they all like just live in synchronicity with their way of life. and they don't try and be anything else but who they are meant to be. The elephants are the elephants, the leopards are the leopards. They don't try and act as an elephant. They know they're going to die if they act as anything but themselves. But as humans, we've lost touch with our true nature. We've lost touch with our ancient roots. And we live a modern life that's very disconnected. And it's like a leopard trying to be a lion or whatever. It will not work that way. So the first thing I'm going to say is connect to your ancient roots. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to start to do that. But before I tell you how you're going to do that, I'm going to tell you what happens when you don't do it, right? And this is what I call like the modern misalignment. We're going to have a look at that. So in this like, modern misalignment, you are unconsciously operating a lot of life. If you don't have things you want in business, in money, in relationships, whatever it is, if you're having experiences and results that are not wanted, then you need to understand your unconscious is driving a whole lot of what's happening right now. If your life is a nightmare or just survival or not really the way you love, the unconscious is driving a lot more than you know. If it's in like you're in bliss and you're in dreamland and like a lot of it's been created or flow is happening, then you're super conscious and like your wisdom side is driving a lot. But if not, then it's quite unconsciously driven. And a lot of the time when you're in your unconscious, you're hustling, you're fighting, you're forcing, you're trying really hard to heal, to fix problems, like to be problem solving, to complete yourself, to beat yourself into submission. And all of this is very ego, sort of unconscious driven way of being. And I'm going to start to tell you a couple of ways that you could be out of alignment. And as I share this, I want you to really listen into like which one maybe do you feel like, oh yeah, this could be me. I think this could be what's happening right now. Okay. So one way is you could believe if you're in our alignment and there's this sort of modern misalignment going on, you might believe reality is random or just against you. And it's like you're cursed or like something's wrong or like there's these even Facebook or the algorithm or like there's something outside of you, clients or timing or like they just never say they have any money or and you think it's just random or coincidental or there's something's against you and you don't know how to fix it. That's one example of when we're out of alignment and we're unconsciously breaking one of the universal laws. Or even doubt is leading. And it's like there's this doubt or this insecurity or this fear, and like it's leading the way and you don't know how to tame it. It just seems to take over, right? Another way is you like emotionally or you let your moods and fears and others dictate your state. So it's all this external stuff outside of you dictates how you're feeling. You might start your day in a rush or comparison, or you're expecting flow, but you're acting from pressure and scarcity, and your energy is like repelling what you're wanting. That's going against the law of vibration. The other one was like going against the law of mentalism, but this one's going against the law of vibration and that frequency work. The other way is around something called correspondence, which I'll talk to you more about in a moment. But it's where you blame or try and fix the external world. You're focusing on the external world. If I make money, then I'll feel good. And when I have money, I'll do this, 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 this. And when that person likes me, I get validation, or people start to see me as significant, then blah, blah, blah. It's you're focusing on the external world. You try to fix clients, strategies, outcomes, from this outside place. You're focusing on action and strategy and physical world. Like it's just this whole outside focus pattern. You might also in this like cause and effect type law, and if you're in a misalignment with it, you will repeat unconscious habits and you call it bad luck. You might be inconsistent, avoid responsibility, blame timing, react to results and be really reactive. This is not taking ownership around cause and effect. And as I'm saying it, as I said, look at which one are you feeling really resonant to, or go, oh, yeah, I can see this here. I can see that here, you know? The other one is around polarity, and you might resist the shadow or you stay stuck in one pole. I must be happy all the time. I must be blissful. Like I cannot feel anything else. Or you're actually really down all the time and you're stuck in this healing pattern thing and you're always just surfacing crap and you never feel great. And like you're just stuck in one pole. You're constantly in fear and scarcity. You're constantly like just stuck in one dimension. And it often happens where you might reject discomfort or shame or fear of invisibility or you hate contraction, you hate trigger, like you're really, really scared of it. But also you could be obsessed with it and attached to bliss and high vibes and, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to keep going in a second, but I want some people to share, like, what are you hearing? What's landing? What are you noticing from what I'm saying? Put it in the chat or tell me, like, which one do you see in yourself or which one is challenging to see? Put it in the chat or unmute. I'll say it while you're thinking as well. For most of my life, those years that I was talking about, those experiences, I blamed like my ex for all these things. Um, yeah, just thought all my money or being the single mom and the victim. And like, I was just putting all this power, even, Facebook didn't like me and the algorithms on the shit. Or like, it was just all of this power on these outside things. And I was always like, this strategy coach is going to save me and this thing's going to like be the magic bullet and blah, blah. These are all ways I was being in misalignment with the laws, and I just didn't know about the laws. I didn't know how to work with them. Let the external things affect me. External factors. Yeah, a few of each of them. I definitely resonate with a lot of what you said. Yeah. Yeah, more than one. Feel like you're talking directly to me. Yeah. And this is the reason why you're hearing it and you feel it a lot is because it's just the way the law works. Like the law of gravity. There's the spiritual laws. That's the way the world works. Unless you know how to work within it and work with it, you won't be able to create consciously and exactly as you want. The reason why you're hitting your head up on the wall and you keep creating the same patterns or past or like things you don't love is because you don't understand this language. You don't know how to code it. It's this matrix that you don't understand how to decode. The second you know how to, was like this sort of like light came on my eyes and this shed of snakeskin came off and I'm like, oh my God, I now know how to read it. Now I know how to adapt to it. It's there. Blame and consistently external, wanting a savior. Yeah, definitely more than one. I allow my mood to dictate and tend to stay stuck in one side. Laws of polarity. Yeah, good awareness. Stuck in happy state, need to be happy days, uncomfortable with anger, sadness, sickness, stress, like in me. Yeah, thinking I don't have the strategy others don't. Yeah, but and this is the thing even, and this is what I love about this ancient wisdom and that I've gleaned. Like I've pulled these from like many different pieces of wisdom, as I said, Vedic, Mayan, the Egyptian, like Hermetic. There is a depth here. If you look at the typical manifestation, the secret, blah, 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 like they just show one law, the law of attraction, It's like there is so much to that. There is so much more depth to it. And the law of attraction, if you just look at that, sorry, I got to say it in that way, then you're not meant to feel bad vibes. Don't feel negative. Don't, it's actually bullshit. You need to actually know how to use all the laws and work with all of it. Otherwise, what's happened is people followed that book and they followed that way, and it was so simplified and so against the ancient real wisdom that they ended up creating all these things they didn't want. And then they just thought the whole thing's BS and they chucked it all out. No, they just didn't understand the full depth of the law and how deep it is and how to work with it in the real fullness. Blame and guilt. Yeah. Okay. So a few of us have the similar ones. I've broken all those universal laws at varying degrees and different stages. Yeah. So I'm going to show you a couple more and then I'll go into like how you're going to start to work with these. Okay. So the law of rhythm, you might hustle through winter and like crash and burn out. There is a time and a season for everything, and you are allowed to rest. There is a time for contraction and expansion, resting and rising. Last year, I have a period in my business where I had a bit more of a resting time, or like I still created things, but it wasn't so full on, like go, go. And I just sat and I let that be. And now this year, it's been like, like blown out of like, I don't know, incredibly amazing knots because I let that be what it was. And then I let this be what it is, where the energy's moving. But when we're against the law of rhythm, you push when energy calls for rest and you expect constant growth. You expect to expand, expand, expand. You breathe in and then you breathe out. Like that's the way of life. You can't just go or push, 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 right? So you're ignoring like the law and you may judge plateaus or like this flow of life that you're not letting be. Or in the law of gender, you might overwork your masculine or float in the feminine and not be able to balance either. You live in either extreme. You're hustling without any pleasure or you're drifting without any structure. The full wisdom of alchemy, the full wisdom of how to use all of it is you need to dance with the energies and know how to dance. In the law of action and inspired action, you might procrastinate and never do anything, and you're a dreamer that just spins around, but you don't do. Or you may overdo, overexert, panic, take frantic, misaligned action. Again, there's that extreme, like that perfectionist who just wants clarity, 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 doesn't want to move, you know, or you're the frantic, misaligned overdoer. Either way, you're not learning how to use the law of action. And in reciprocity or that law of compensation, you may hoard and just like, I got to keep the money and I got to keep this and it's got to all be myself and there's no flow. And you have this really negative energy around giving and receiving and even money. Or you may undercharge and overgive and you block the current of circulation from that way. You don't receive, you don't let yourself receive. Or you don't want to give too much, so you hold back out of fear. I don't want to give too much energy. I don't want to, you know. So it's blocking the law of the circulation of wealth and it's blocking that law of energy exchange that happens. The law of Dharma, you may chase success that isn't yours, or you may copy strategies that don't fit your essence or sell in a way that isn't actually truly your true nature. And it's uninspired. Why I had that 4 months with no money is because I was ignoring the law of Dharma. It was not my Dharma what that person was telling me to do. It wasn't aligned, so it led to crap. The second I teach the thing I'm aligned to teach, it grows like crazy and abundance floods in. And I love it and I'm fulfilled and all of life benefits because we found our Dharma, right? Two more to go. Detachment. You cling, you force, you spiral in anxiety, like you're obsessive in metrics and validation and how many people are liking and engaging and how many people selling and buying this, and you're micromanaging and you're so holding so tight onto like the thing that you're wanting that it repels the energy of it. And lastly, relativity, you label things as a failure or lose a power. You've got all these negative meanings. Like I'll give you one example. There was 1 month out of the last 6 years that I went below 10K and I went to a 4K month. And the second that happened, I started spiraling, thinking, this means the magic's gone, the mojo's gone. Oh my God. That was me not using the law of relativity very well. My coach who knew these laws and knew how to work with this said, okay, let's like reframe this. Let's see what else it could be. It's just the law of rhythm and it's just like the in before the out. It's just an ebb before a flow. Like it's all good, it's natural. And when I labeled it that way, I saw it that way, gave it that meaning, the next month I had the 100K launch. But if I stayed and hooked onto that, I would have created another nothing K month or whatever. Right? So I hope you can hear some pieces there. This is what happens, and this is the cost of when we're out of alignment. And now I want to help you sort of get into magnetic correction. Okay. So I want to give you one example, and I'm going to give you some practices around this on one of the laws. I just gave you an overview of a bunch of them and where you could go wrong. I just want to go into one of them a little bit and use some examples for you to understand how to use this as a magnetic correction. So, for example, the law of correspondence, as within, so without. The inner world creates the outer world, right? When I focused on and meditated like on abundance and I moved from scarcity and I went into the abundance, that month that I had the 20K debt, even though I felt on the outside life was showing me I had no money, I internally kept coming back to abundance, kept feeling where I was receiving, where I had everything, how my house was surrounded with all these goodies. I don't know what's happening in my camera, it's moving around. And then when I did that, I had a 20K month. Even the outside wasn't telling me that. I went inside and shifted in here, and then the outside reflected that abundance that was inside. I also around that time decided I was never going to have less than a 10K month, and then never did I ever had less by that one time when I started to doubt it again. Never did I have that less than that. And I just went up and up and up because I knew how to use the laws to increase that. There was one alchemy launch as well. I was on all these sales calls and everyone kept saying like, no, I don't think this is going to help me. I've tried everything. Nothing helps me. No coach and no program helps. Like this won't either. And I didn't understand in terms of the law of correspondence. I was like, where is this inside of me? Because I don't feel this in my business. No matter how hard it got, I always believed I was able to find a way and I was going to figure it out. I just hadn't figured it out yet. And that wasn't the right coach yet. Right. So I was like, where is this in me? This isn't inside. I don't get it. I did some deeper energetic work. I did some deeper work within laws. And I saw that's how I felt about men and that's how I felt about relationships. And I shifted that. And then I filled up my alchemy launch and no people were going on about being hopeless anymore. I'm going to give you one last example. I had a house with my ex-husband that was my house, but I put him under the name of it. And I hated that house because we sold it like just after we broke up. We didn't sell it. We had it, just bought it after we broke up. And I hated it. And I was so resentful because of all this financial stuff that happened between my ex and I. And that house went down the second we bought it, and it went down and down and down for years, right? And every time it went down, I hated it even more. And it was this, but there's external thing, and it was like mirroring my resentment in here. I did forgiveness work a few years, and I did this sort of money work with the laws, and I did this deep forgiveness. And then that month I did it, the house started to go up to the point that 6 months later, I was able to sell it for double what I had before. It doubled my investment just from doing some sort of emotional resentment stuff. Inside, it started to change the value of the house on the outside, right? So the thing I want you to ask to express and explore this law in yourself and how you can actually use it for yourself is what is this whatever you're looking at right now and you're not wanting in your life. Find something like, and you're not going to do it right now, but you're going to journal on this after. Look at something you're not wanting in your life. It could be the way, like, you're not getting any sales, clients aren't coming in, the business, whatever. Like, try and find something specific. You got triggered by someone today or recently. Ask yourself, what is this experience showing me about what I'm thinking and feeling inside? And you could actually list this for a bunch of things. I've done this for money before, and it's like, how is it showing up that I don't like? Like, what is my external reality that I'm not loving right now and I'm not liking, and it's showing up this way, this way, this way. So in one column, you look at your outer reality and like, what are you not loving? And then on the other column, you go, well, what's my inner reality and where is this feeling within me? Where is this showing up within me? If clients aren't respecting you or treating you with respect, or they're, just like even ghosting, whatever, it's like, where are you ignoring you and ghosting you? Where are you not respecting you? It's like, just keep looking for where is this within you, right? I'm going to do a little demonstration for you. Who has seen the rods here? Some of you have seen the rods I've done. A couple of you, not all of you. All right. let's get the rods out because they're fun. My new computer follows me around and I don't know how to turn it off. So I'm hoping that it will show you these rods because it does start zooming in when I go away and stuff. This technology is so smart. Anyway, I want you to see this because this is showing like part of the law of correspondence and what is inside of is going to change the external reality, right? And I'm going to say some things or feel some things, and I want you to watch what happens to these rods. I'm not going to physically move them externally. I'm just going to feel internally, and I want you to see what happens on the outside world, right? So I'm, yeah, really, really pumped and so excited because I'm just creating so many things right now that I'm really loving. And I'm about to go on two retreats in November. I've got an awesome event that I'm running next week. And I just feel really on fire and like really in love with life and so excited. I'm going to go travel, going to go away with my son. Like it's just a beautiful balance of the way life's working out. And yeah, I'm pumped. This completely moved and opened, right? It was moving as I was changing something I felt inside. Then I'm going to change that attitude and move to something else. Yeah, I'm really annoyed and I get really angry at the coaching industry a lot of the time. And not just the coaching industry, just like people who have an ill intent to just make money and they actually don't want to serve and they don't want to really care about the people in their field. And it really pisses me off because people get screwed over, they get burnt, they get hurt. And I've been one of them before and I don't want anyone to feel that way. And I actually want to eradicate it from the industry. I know I can't, but I just want to do anything I can to stop it because it pisses me off and infuriates me so much. This completely closed over the second I started to tune into like anger, right? What are you seeing? What are you noticing? Tell me what you're taking away from what I'm sharing. Put it in the chat or unmute.
How our energy is being, emitted,
Yeah.
and that frequency is going out.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's right. So I do 20 sales calls in that 4 months and I do everything this coach tells me and I'm doing all the actions but internally I'm worried about money and I'm worried about no one going to buy and I'm insecure and I don't think I'm good at what I'm doing and I'm doing all this stuff I don't even like to do and I don't even think I'm good at it. And so my energy is like this, and I'm getting on all these calls and I'm doing all these things, but my energy is closed. There's no point. This is why I do 6 weeks or something of actions that I'm doing strategies but I've not been able to unlock the energy. I haven't been able to use the universal laws to the depth of what I need to unlock it. And I can do all this and no one's saying yes, no one's buying. And then I open up and I do the energetic and boom, it all flows. And I feel my retreat or I feel my program or whatever, right?
So, Miranda, even by saying with this, it work or it just feeling inside as well. Sometimes.
No, you need to, and that's a really great point, Han. Like there has to be a coherence between what you're feeling and what you're saying, like your intention and your emotion. If you're just like, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, but inside you feel like shit and you're anxious and like, no, it's actually going to make it worse because you're telling the universe, I'm just worried about money, basically, emotionally, right? So it needs to be both what you're focusing on and what you're feeling.
Yes, thank you. And that's, I think, the tough part. When the outer reality doesn't match, you try to fake it, and then, yeah. Can you give me one tip? How did you manage that? Like outer reality when was not correct? How did you create abundance inside?
How did,
Any example? Can you share, please?
well, I'll give you an example with my Magnetism membership. That I'll tell you one as well, but just because I'm about to wrap up and introduce this. Um, this is a monthly membership that I'm going to teach you exactly how to do this, all the time because I'm going to explain to you a simple way, Amita, but I've spent, and because you've known me for a long time, spent $1 million and 10 years perfecting this and deepening this. And it's not like a hack I can give that's like, you just do this one thing and then bang, because you saw years and years of me trying to do little hacks or things and it wasn't working. Like until I got into the mastery of the laws, like, and knew how to do it, that was when it happened. So I'll explain this, but for your answer of just right now, um, it was literally just as a simple practice. Whenever you notice you're feeling scarce or fear or like whatever's happening that you don't want to feel or it's not helping you match what you want on the outside, you just notice that feeling and you sense it and you speak it out and you let it be. And you just like my son, if he's upset, I just let him speak. I hold space to let him be. And then you go back to the frequency you do want to be a match for, what you do want to create, abundance or confidence and strength, like or whatever. And then you live that reality, speak that until you're triggered again, and then you go back and you do it again, the same process. But that's me trying to give a hack for something that's much deeper than that and much more to it. Because if there was just a simple hack, we could just go and chat and say, what's the hacks and whatever, and we could just create what we want. But there's much more than that. So I was going to mention to you ladies, like, and this is really exciting because I've been doing my magnetism membership for the last year, but we were doing the archetypes, and now I'm moving into in 2 weeks, like the universal laws. And every month we're going to work into a new universal law. And I'm going to be exploring in the depth of all the million I've spent, all the 10 years, and all going around the globe and studying all these ancient technologies and all this wisdom that I've gathered through all these different traditions. I've selected over all the traditions, like the 12 most potent laws that I can give you that are going to amplify your business, amplify abundance, amplify your health, wealth, love, love life, all these things, they're going to permeate everything. And I've chosen the 12 ones that I feel are the most potent and powerful that have made all the difference in my life. And so I want to, intro you that. And in that membership, you'll see the info in there. It's just a monthly amount. It's not something that you have to commit to for the whole year or whatever. You can just stay on month to month and just go into that. We're going to have at least the minimum monthly calls where we're going to deep dive into the training. We're going to deep dive into the insight and the intuition part of it. And I'm going to give you real practical guidance and tips and practices you're going to do through the month and even little magic experiments that is going to be super fun. And you're going to do that through the month to embody and learn that law. And then you get to ask questions and see and embody it. And you're getting to do that for 0.001% of what I've done to invest to learn all of this. So, yeah, have a look at the magnetism membership, have a look at the universal laws that we're looking at, and start to explore it because that is where we're going to do the embodied wisdom of what I'm sharing here. And there's a way that you can just do it monthly or you could do it for the year and get more. And the people who are going to join from this call over the next day, because it is going to start in 2 weeks, the people who join from today, I'm actually going to give you 2 other trainings and bonuses to get you moving and going straight into things in terms of manifesting abundance and more flow in your business right now as well. So there's going to be 2 bonus trainings that I have from Alchemy, my big mastermind group training, in there as well. So I wanted to introduce you to it because I'm super pumped. The only reason I run this membership is because I love this and I'm obsessed with this. And I actually have so much fun doing these myself and diving deeper and deeper into running these as well. So please check that page out, and any questions and things, do message me and ask. Does anyone have any questions now about it, or just anything that you want to ask about it now? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat if you do. No? Cool. Amazing. Awesome. So I'm going to leave that to you. If you do have questions, you can send me a message and ask away and that sort of thing as well. But we are going to get going in 2 weeks. And the people who, as I said, come in the next day after this call are going to get 2 more magnetic bonuses as well. But what I would love, I'm going to open this chat for another sort of 5-10 minutes as well. Tune into what you've taken out of what I've shared so far. And yeah, give me any question or put in any key takeaway in the chat at least. But if you do have a question about something I've shared or something you'd love to know, put it in the chat or unmute, and I'd love to explore it with you. Take away universal laws allow us to unlock everything. Yes. As I said, it's the same as the law of gravity. Like you try and live this life without knowing that and without knowing how to work with it. Like there's just no way, right? Awareness, yeah. Yeah, and there's many more laws. Like I haven't explored all of them with you, but these are the ones that I've found to be incredibly potent and powerful for you to go deeper. Awesome. So excited to have you, hun. It's a lot of fun and yeah, I just love doing it with these incredible people. You love doing it with you. Does anyone have anything else? You got me for another thing, a couple of minutes. You can ask any question that's bubbling from what's shared. Um, Love this conversation. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thanks, hun. Key takeaway, being aware of where we're coming from and shifting our inner vibration to align with what we want. Yes. So glad that you saw that, hun. And the thing as well is there is a law of cause and effect. And so if things haven't shifted on the outside yet, as I said, there has to be something that hasn't deeply shifted yet inside, right? Results don't lie. And this was something that a coach said to me once, and I really hated it because, you know, I was like, I'm trying everything, I'm doing everything. And he's like, you actually don't want this thing, or, you know, you would have it, you know? It's like there's something still inside of you that's getting so much out of keeping this pattern going. And the second you decide you don't want it, or like the where there's a will, there's a way, you know, the second I was like, oh, you know, I'm in this really hard place and I'm having all these horrible things happen with this 20K debt and like universe, like show me the way. Whatever. It was the second that mentor like dropped in and bang, like it created the way. Awesome session. Thank you. Great reminder of our experiences showing us what we're thinking or feeling inside. Yes. Yeah. And that's just like looking at the law of correspondence, right? There is a lot of ones that we can unpack and go deeper in. Thank you, Miranda. Sometimes we need reminders like this to tell ourselves when we slipped into fear and unconscious is running the show. Yeah, 1000%. Amazing. Anyone have a question? Or are you just giving me cool takeaways? Magnetism membership is the promotion. Join now, get the first month's free, available for annual only. Yes. Yeah. You just get a discount if you want to do it annually. Otherwise, it's just that, yeah, 97. But as I said, you can stay, you know, in or you can leave at any point. So, oh, awesome. Kalia, come on. Come on down. Ask a question. Can you unmute or do you want me to unmute? Yeah, here we go. Does that give you some reason to unmute thing pop up? It's not letting you do it. All I can do is ask you to unmute. I can't. It should be, if it's on the phone, it should be just the bottom left little, it should be an audio mic button in your settings. Yeah, no worries. I think I got a bit burnt today. I feel like my chest is hot. I don't know why it's not. You can do it at the bottom. Can you explain the key difference between core and the community? So the core is just like the one session once a month. And then the community is going to be two sessions where we get more into a Q&A, there's more like ability to ask questions, really go, hey, this is popping up. What else can I do about this? Like it's a little bit more guidance and sort of community support and things. The core is literally just like come to the calls and then get to practice the practices and, you know, the questions and all things. Yeah. No worries. Thanks, Bron. Um, I don't know. Was Kalia gone? Maybe she couldn't unmute. She gone? She's gone. Maybe her phone wouldn't do it. Anyway, I'll message her and get her question. All right. If anyone needs to, yeah, ask anything, whatever, send me a message. Would love to explore it with you. But thank you for being here. Love you so much. And yeah, I can't wait to see you in whatever capacity, hopefully in magnetism, but in whatever way. Otherwise, I'll be sharing more online and getting you into these things. Actually, hey, Carla's here. Maybe she's coming on her computer. If you guys
I'm
enjoy,
so sorry about
that's
that.
all
I
right.
finally got through.
You got through. Well done.
I don't know why, but it for some reason was off, and then I lost it all.
Oh, good.
Story of my life when it comes to this. So thank you so much for bringing up all of this, because one of the things I was going to speak to is the technical difficulties, as well as just hearing you go through everything again like this. It's been really, really beautiful. So thank you.
Mm,
And it just brings up the whole thing that you brought up earlier around one of the key pieces for me is like being ready or not. And I feel like that's been a huge thing for me. So when you're talking about specifically these universal laws and things, do you feel like you need to hold these things consistently enough first before entering into your offerings of service?
mm.
Because that's the key piece for me, that I keep jumping in and then jumping out and jumping in and jumping out, because I feel that, yeah, maybe it actually does take a genuine amount of time to be consistent in
Yeah.
a lot of these areas.
So you're asking whether I feel that you only see the benefit once you've been consistent in it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like a lot of the ones that we brought up earlier, the negativities, I guess,
Yeah.
from the earlier questions. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, yep, tick,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And you're
and
like,
that's
where do I
why I
see the
really,
result, or like, where do I see it shift in my reality, like sort of thing? That's what you're wondering.
yeah, and is it
Yeah.
genuine enough to allow yourself a little bit more time
Yeah.
before you're showing up completely, if
Yeah.
it's really that hard?
Yeah, well, I mean, you think of like what comes to mind when you're saying this, hun, is you think of the natural law of the way a garden works, and if a garden is completely overruled, dead plants, like weeds everywhere, like it's not going to just in 1 second, like all be pulled out and then a beautiful garden thriving, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take time to pull out what's dead, pull out the weed, like, and then plant again and even do the soil properly and water it all and tend to it. And then it will take time for it to even break through the surface and actually be seen, not just be in the underworld. So that's why as well, like that 4 years where all this stuff happened and nothing was shifting, whatever, that doesn't mean nothing was happening. There was a lot of invisible shifts and changes and things. But I believe it can be expedited when we work in the quantum and we know how to do this work and when we have mentorship and guidance around it.
Yeah.
It slows, and I've worked with people who for 7 years have tried to do their business or abundance or different things and haven't made anything, and then they started to do this and quantum work and bang, it explodes. Like a client of mine tried for a year to do strategy and all this action and all this stuff and couldn't make it happen, and then did 2 weeks of my supercon like this work, like, and then had a 25K month and then 100K in like 3 months. Like, what I create now is it's like I create double what I used to earn in my salary in 1 month, like of my business. Like it's like it is exponentiated and sped up my quantum leaping and growth and speed. So yes, it takes time to tend, and yes, it can be a delay in external. But when you really know how to work these laws, they are timeless, and you are operating outside of time, so it actually can be a lot speedier. Now, doesn't mean you skip steps though. It can be speedy, but there is a Fibonacci sequence of how the universe works and how growth and development happens. You can't go 1K to 100K in 1 second. Like, you've got to do steps to get there. But the steps can be speedier. So you can took me, $1 million in 10 years to get near like my first million in a year, right? But that doesn't have to happen for you because if you learn from someone and you can speed it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does for sure.
Yeah. But there is an internal shifting that can sometimes happen. Um, and even this thing around your tech, or like sometimes there can be these threads that around your visibility or your fear of really being seen or like certain things, and those threads are holding on to stop you
That's what
from,
I feel. It's like conscious, like the unconscious mind is obviously bringing it through
yeah, for
for the
sure.
sabotage programs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the second that like there could be five threads or and when we work in the universal way and we work in that more superconscious like, intuitive way, there could be just five threads and we just go cut, cut, cut and bang. That's why that breakthrough happened for me so suddenly and so vastly. And then it was like such a stark contrast.
Mm.
Um, because once I learned how to work in that way, I was able to know the threads and cut them like as I needed, you know? So breakthroughs for me happen a lot faster, and with clients too, I see it a lot quicker and faster, and I know the thing that they need to do to move the needle. Um, so, but you know, for instance, for me, like I've been doing a lot of work around visibility and a lot of work about in this last year and my expansion in my audience and my brand and like these things. And I was held back in that a little bit the last year or so because of different fears or and now that that's been shifted and it's like really the last 3, 4 months, it's really shifted. It's like it's growing like a ridiculous rate, you know? So when we know how to do that, yeah, it's super powerful. And the tech and all the things, like that's just, yeah, the external things that just start to reorient.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for that.
awesome.
A lot to contemplate.
Yeah, yeah, there is. But yeah, you're doing amazing, hun, and great to see you. I know,
Thank
you've
you.
been in my world for a little bit, so yeah, it's beautiful seeing. Love when I see people I've known for a bit in here. So I am going to go now, my loves. Thank you for being here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Any questions, let me know. And yeah, pumped to see you soon. Much love. Bye.